Hey, what's going on? I'm glad you're still toughing it out through the unit. We're just going to do a quick little video on the properties of trapezoids. Siegel and I felt that it was important to go over these quickly, that way you had a good understanding, because trapezoids, say that 5 times fast, can get a little tricky. So here's our image of a trapezoid, right there, and just some things to point out. So the parallel sides, you see this right here? There's your parallel. Your parallel sides are called the bases, right? Those are the bases. The non-parallel sides, which are these right here, they're called the legs. Now it's important that you understand this, because as you move into harder problems, you're gonna have to be able to label your bases and your legs. And if we go to this bottom piece right here, it says a pair of angles that share a base as a common side are called, they're called base angles. Now, I'm going to read that again. A pair of angles that share a base as a common side. So here's our bases. I'm going to draw them in green. And it's basically saying that if you have 2 angles that are on that base line, like A and D, right here, those are base angles. That's all that's saying. So, Mr. Elizondo, why is this important? Well, you're going to see in this next set of examples. It says identify and label the bases, legs, and base angles. So remember, when you see this symbol right here, that means parallel. So our bases are what? It would be this line right here. Remember, the bases are the parallel lines. Parallel parts of the trapezoid, I should say. So the bases are AB and CD. Those are our bases. So that means the legs are these two, AD and BC. And what are our base angles? Well, BC and D. And then you also have up here A and B. So I'm going to have you do the second problem on your own, and you'll show it to Mr. Siegel or myself. See if you can't help, or see if you can't label them on your own. And now let's get into the real nitty-gritty of the properties, and this is why we had you go through labeling the bases and the base angles and the legs and all that. Property number 1 says consecutive angles between bases are supplementary. In order for that to make any sense to you, you have to know what the bases are and the base angles. So let's look at this first problem. It says find angle R. So let's label angle R. This is what we're looking for. We're just going to label it X. And so step 1, as you can see, is label the bases and the base angles. So here, our bases, remember, are the parallel lines, right? So that means TR is a base and PA is a base. So those are our bases. Do that right there. So we could say over here TR, PA, right? Step 2, you got to write an equation. Well, let's go back up to what our property is. It says consecutive angles next to each other between bases are supplementary. So that means T and R are supplementary because they're consecutive and they're between bases. So our equation would look something like this. Angle T plus angle R equals 180 degrees, right? Now let's just plug in what we have. Angle T is 115 degrees, and angle R we're just labeling X. There's your equation. And step 3 is always to solve. So we'll take 115 away from each side, and we're gonna get X equals 65. Which in this case means angle R equals 65 degrees. So you can see that's why we had you go through labeling the bases and all that, because if you're able to do that, the problems actually end up being pretty easy. So let's look at this second question. Given trapezoid ELIZ, solve for X. So step 1 again, label the bases, which is the bases are our parallel sides, so that's EZ is a base and LI is a base. So side EZ, side LI. Which means your base angles are any of these in here. So like E is a base angle, Z is a base angle, L is a base angle, and I is a base angle. Now what the property says is consecutive angles between bases are supplementary. Well, consecutive means next to. Angle L is next to angle I, and they're on a base. So that means for our equation, we can write that angle L plus angle I is equal to 180 degrees, right? Let's just plug in angle L, which is 16x plus 39, angle I, which is plus 45, to equal 180. Now that's it for this video, but you're not going to be able to move on. You have to solve for x on your own. And these are just the beginning properties of trapezoids.